I'd like to call the City of Prospect Heights City Council regular meeting for Monday, April 28th, 2025 to order at 6:16. Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Here.
Alderman Anderson.
Here.
Alderman Dash.
Here.
Alderman Dolick.
Here.
And Alderman Morgan Adams is absent with prior notice.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, under the approval of minutes, I'm going to ask that we table items B and C, the executive session minutes, until the next meeting.
Motion to table.
Okay, we need a motion to table those.
So
moved.
Anderson.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
But we do need a motion to approve the April 15th, 2025 City Council regular meeting minutes.
So moved, Anderson. Second, Cameron.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 4, we have no presentations today. Item 5, we have no appointments, confirmations, or proclamations. Item 6, public comment on agenda matters. Do we have anybody that signed up?
Not on agenda matters, no.
Anybody, second chance if you want to ask a question or comment on agenda matters? Okay. Item 7, we have no consent agenda today either, but we do have a lot of old and new business, so we need to, forgot about this, we need to go into an executive session for this purpose. So what exemption is that? Need to put you on the spot.
So are you passing it as is, or do you want
No,
to
we're going to discuss it
Okay,
first.
we're going to discuss it first.
1 second. Technical issue.
That's for the collective bargaining? It's C2, C2. I'll write it down for you. So it's five SCS 120
Okay.
/ 2C2.
So we need to go into a short executive session for the purposes under exemption 5 ILLS 120 2C2.
That's collective bargaining matters.
What's it?
Did you say it's for collective
Pay,
purposes? Collective
just in general, pay plan.
Oh, yeah, so sorry, employment compensation, sorry.
So we're going to executive session for about 5 minutes for the purposes of
Employment benefits and
employment benefits. So with that, we need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved, Anderson. Second, Cameron.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion passes. We will be back in 5 minutes. Okay. Executive session is closed, so we will take action on what was discussed in the executive session under item A of old business. So we need to, do I make the change to it now, or do I make it as a?
so, yeah, so you can ask for a motion to approve, and then
Subject
you just
to.
want to subject to that, whatever the language is.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve ordinance 025, ordinance 02506, staff memo and ordinance amending Title I of the city code and adopting the pay plan, compensation of officers, employees, and salaries, and pay plan, the modification to that pay plan to be to change the 2.25% to 2.75%, and to add a one-time 0.25% adjustment to salary, not adjustment to salary, a one-time 0.25% payment to staff based on their salary. So we have a motion, do we have a motion to approve that?
So moved. Anderson?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, ordinance 02507, staff memo and ordinance adopting the fiscal year 2025-26 budget for the city of Prospect Heights. This is the second reading. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. We had our hearing. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item C, ordinance 02508, business liquor license request, an ordinance increasing the number of B liquor licenses from 7 to 8, full liquor Monday through Sunday from 8 a.m. to 12 midnight for Deli for You Market at 9 East Camp McDonald Road. This is the second reading. We need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second, Cameron?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item D, ordinance 02509, staff memo and ordinance implementing a municipal grocery retailer's occupation tax and a municipal grocery service occupation tax for the city of Prospect Heights. This is a second reading. We need a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Joe, would you like to explain this, what we're doing here?
Sure. First of all, I want to stress, this is not a new tax. This is a tax that's been collected for decades. It reflects a change in state law that, as everybody's aware, there's two parts of a grocery tax, sales tax. One is what goes to the state at 1%, and one is which is collected by the state but goes to municipalities of 1%. As of legislation last year, the state, effective January 1, will no longer be collecting that 1% tax. However, legislation also allowed so that municipalities wouldn't be in the hole on that, that municipalities could pass their own grocery sales tax ordinance. It is still going to be collected by the Illinois Department of Revenue. Without it, to put it in perspective, I think our grocery tax revenue is roughly about $600,000. That's 5% of our budget. So we can't, I could not recommend that we abdicate from that tax. It's needed. Otherwise, we'd be looking at reduction in services and/or personnel. And we're pretty lean to begin with.
Are we unicorns on this, or are we?
No, we are not. It is, you might have seen the article in the Sunday's Herald about it. The Herald has a large area. I think there's only 2 municipalities, Bartlett and Streamwood, are not doing it. But they're also home rule communities. They have other sources of revenue. But I think, for example, Schaumburg. Schaumburg is a big town. It's $5 million of revenue. Our neighbors around us that also have grocery stores, Arlington Heights, Mount Prospect, they're doing it. We're proposing it as part of the budget process for the simple reason that this 5%, this $600,000 is needed for us to have a balanced budget.
Yes.
I think it's important to note, too, that when the state did this, because they felt they could no longer, I think they used the term like, they couldn't clear their conscience of charging a tax on on the groceries, well, on the flip side of their budget, they increase the amount that they take from sportsbook gambling and stuff like that to make up for it. And we have no way of doing that. So although they can drop it and make it up somewhere else, we can't. So, and no different than any other town really around us. So we're not unusual in doing this. So we have a first and a second on this. Call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion passes. Number 9, new business. A, resolution R2527, staff memo and resolution authorizing a civil engineering services agreement with DeWalt Hamilton Associates Incorporated for construction engineering and observation services for the Levy 37 wall repair project in the amount of $102,000. I'm going to ask that this be subject to attorney review after the vote. So we need a motion.
So moved.
Second, Cameron.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, Resolution R2528, a resolution approving the execution of an intergovernmental agreement providing for membership in the Illinois Public Works Mutual Aid Network Agreement. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, Cameron.
We have a motion and a second. Mark, you want to give us a high-level?
Yes, sir. Illinois Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement or Network. It's IPW MAN is what it's known as. This is a agreement between municipalities to help each other out in case of a major emergency or needs that arise. The city has been enrolled in part of this since at least 2011. This agreement today comes forward because they've done a change in the structure, making a little bit better oversight of the group and a little bit more liability control in case something does go wrong while we're performing work or getting or receiving work from another municipality. We're fortunate. I believe the only time we've had to call on our neighbors for something through this program was back in the early maybe 2012 or 2014 for pumping on the Arlington countryside. Rolling Meadows came out with a big pump and helped us out. When tornadoes or big events happen, there's a network that reaches out to all of us to see if we can offer assistance. We have not sent anyone out for assistance to our neighboring communities because typically at that point we were already inundated ourselves, but we are good neighbors and we plan on helping when we can. So this is just a step keeping us all on the same track. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any questions? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Item C, Resolution R2529, staff memo and resolution approving an agreement between the City of Prosper Heights and the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, Chapter 253. Need a motion to approve?
So moved, Cameron.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is our new collective bargaining agreement with the police officers. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item D, Resolution 2530, staff memo and resolution approving a supplemental engineering agreement for the Willow Trail Stormwater Project with DeWalt Hamilton Associates Incorporated for a cost of $36,000, subject to attorney review. Need a motion to approve?
So moved, Anderson.
Second, Cameron.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item E, Resolution R2531, staff memo and resolution authorizing a scope of service agreement with DeWalt Hamilton Associates Incorporated for National Pollution Drainage Elimination System compliance permit requirements for a cost of $6,300. $350. We need a motion, subject to attorney review.
So moved, Anderson.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Item 10, staff and elected officials and commission reports. Today we have a report, a March financial report presented by Assistant Finance Director Tannehill.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council members. I'd like to present the financial report for March 31st, 2025, with 92% of the year that's passed. All funds combined, the city total revenues represent about 81.7% of the budget, and total expenses reflect 64.4% of the budget. Looking at some of the revenue side of things, the vehicle sticker campaign is over. It was over at March 31st. This year, it looked like we're about 20,000 more came in this time than it was last year. And I think we do that because of compliance, better compliance with people coming in and buying stickers from all the thing we did last summer of trying to get the scofflaw people. Total, we received 780,000, a little over 780,000 in vehicle sticker revenue. And part of that is stuff from people who haven't bought their stickers from the previous year. So we're at about 780,000. We're planning on this summer, around June, July, to start that scofflaw campaign again of going after the residents who haven't bought their sticker for the 25-26. And we'll go through the whole process of sending out a first letter for explanation of why you didn't buy the sticker, going into a complaint or a ticket. They can come back in and talk to us, and then going through the adjudication process if they don't respond to the first and second letter type of thing. That's going to around June or July. And what we do is we get a list from the Illinois Secretary of State that shows all the registered vehicles in the city of Prospect Heights, and we compare that list to our database. And those that don't show up in our database, but they're on the Secretary of State list, those will receive a letter asking, we have your plate registered in Prospect Heights. Is this true or correct? Then they have an opportunity to come in or call and let us know that, no, we sold the car or we don't have that car anymore. And then for those who don't respond, then we send another, like a second letter, a complaint saying, you haven't responded to the first letter, you are receiving a citation if we respond in a certain amount of period of time, and then we send it to adjudication. And they're either found liable or not liable based on that. So that will start this summer once we get the list from the Secretary of State. As for all the other revenues, they're right within budget. Expenditures are the same thing. They're right in within the budget number. Some are a little below budget, which are good. That means the department members are watching what they're spending in each of their departments. Places for eating tax is showing is higher than expected than budget. That's a good sign. I mean, people are going out and hitting the restaurants and purchasing food. And our interest income is still showing at a positive amount than what we budgeted for. So hopefully that will continue. That's the financial report for March. And we are going to roll into next month in May, starting the audit again for fiscal 25. So that's at the end of May. Our auditors will be in to go through the books and get the audit together. So if you have any questions, hopefully be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you. We'll keep to the left there. Peter, you have any report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The spring edition of the newsletter will be coming out shortly, so be checking your mailboxes. I want to direct attention to the front page is all the good things that are going to be happening in the city coming now that it's spring. The first event is going to happen in June, which is the Community Days event. But one thing that's not on there, so you'll be able to look at the newsletter and see all the events from the Community Days all the way to the 4th of July parade. But the one event that's not on there because it unfortunately was not planned in time is what's being called a Native Plant Education Day. This is, I believe, the brainchild of our representatives, Mary Beth Canty and Tracy Katz-Mole. They are working with the Park District. They are working with the Natural Resources Commission as well. This will be taking place May 17th At Country Gardens, just actually behind Country Gardens is the ComEd Prairie. That's where it's going to be located, a day of education about native plantings. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 11:30. So hopefully, we'll be getting much more information out on this through our e-news and on our website. But please take a look at our website, take a look at our newsletter, because there's a lot of really good events, fun for the entire family that are going to be taking place. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Chief, your report?
Nope.
No?
Nothing for me.
Mark?
No, sir. Thank you.
Dan?
Not tonight.
Joe?
No report, thank you.
Lloyd?
Nothing from me.
Chief?
Thank you, sir. Real quick, I'd like to talk about the city's website. Last time I spoke about updated laws regarding electric and gas-powered bicycles, scooters, and off-highway vehicles. Since that meeting, I've met with Lloyd over here, and we've updated the police page, methods of transportation, and the section that speaks in depth about these different transportation devices is titled Transportation Devices, and it's on the city's webpage. So if anybody has any questions regarding, like I said, electric and gas-powered bicycles, scooters, and off-highway vehicles, and where they can be ridden and driven, you can find that on the new police page. Also, keep an eye out. We will be updating the job opportunities page and the press releases page, given the new web design. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Elected officials to my left?
No, thank you.
To my right? No. Okay. Danielle?
Nope.
No? All right. Approval of warrants. Will the clerk read the expenditures and wire transfers?
Yes, the approval expenditures for the April 28th meeting, we have a total of $239,040.71. We have a wire payment on 4/18/25 for payroll in the amount of $180,977.05. A March IMRF payment of $16,637.06, and a total warrant amount of $436,654.82 tonight.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve?
So moved. Anderson?
Second, Cameron.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Cameron.
Aye.
Alderman Anderson.
Aye.
Alderman Dash.
Aye.
Alderman Dolick.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Item 12, public comment on non-agenda matters. 5-minute time limit. Are there any?
Yes, we have a couple slips submitted tonight. The first one is, sorry if I pronounce this, Rashani Patel.
Say that again?
Is it fine for us to come up collectively, or do you prefer us to come up individually because we're on the same topic together?
I mean, are you coming up together for 5 or 10?
No, we'll take our time and we'll each take our 5.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you? Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to introduce myself. I have a few extra copies. So my name is Rashni Patel. I'm the owner. I have other partners as well. Nirvana, Smoking Babe. We missed the meeting last month when you guys were discussing the hemp ban along with a couple of other substances that were being banned. And I just wanted to kind of just to come up, introduce myself. So my background, I'm a nurse practitioner. My brother, who's my partner, he's a pharmacist. I just wanted to say that, you know, we would not, we take the products that we sell very seriously. We're not, you know, we're careful about what comes into our shops, making sure that it's being sold to, we're checking IDs, making sure that everyone that's purchasing it is above the age of 21. So we're diligent about that. We have our POS system, which scans IDs to make sure they can't bypass that to complete a sale without doing that. So it's even stricter than some of the liquor stores or other facilities, retail stores might have to sell tobacco or to sell liquor. So again, we take it very seriously. On this handout that I gave, on the last page, it identifies that, for this store, it accounts for about 54% of sales. So, which is significant revenue for this category, and it has a severe impact on the store and being able to sustain even being in business. So that's what I wanted to bring up.
So wait, so 54% of your sales are these hemp-derived THC products?
They are.
What is the other percentage, like what?
So we have vape, which is a nicotine-based product, so it's like tobacco, and then the other is hemp derived. And there's a portion of it which is also Kratom as well.
So maybe we should hear the other people who are speaking, and then we could probably just speak to it collectively. Should we do that?
Sure.
My name is Corey Kelly, so thank you all for taking the opportunity to listen to us. To be very clear, if I were sitting in your position, I would have voted the same way you did. The information or lack of information was pretty significant as far as when people were asking questions about these things. We're not asking you in any way to overturn what you did or to change your mind. We're just looking to separate. You're talking about Kratom and some of these other products. That's not what we're here to talk about. If that stays on the books, then that's fine. What we're looking at is hemp-based products, which are federally legal and state regulated. Cannabis was a Schedule 1, which means no medical value according to the DEA through last year. Then last year it was turned to a Schedule 3. Schedule 3 means limited medical use. And then one of the things that was brought up as far as it not being regulated, it is regulated by the FDA, or it is regulated by the government. Under 0.3% of THC is considered hemp, and these are both state and federal regulated. Things like supplements are not federally regulated. Things that you sell in the community, you sell supplements, vitamin C, vitamin D, those are not federally regulated. So those were some of the things and concerns that were brought up. The other things were the communities. That was brought up also about not wanting to be like Delta City or anything. So the majority of municipalities in the area have not banned it, including Arlington Heights. The areas around here that have done it, Rolling Meadows is the closest one, but the majority of places, just like when you're talking about the grocery tax, you want to see if you're a unicorn or where you're in line with this. You're a unicorn more by banning it than you are by not banning it. Again, the majority of municipalities in the area, including larger ones, Schaumburg, Naperville, Arlington Heights, those places have not banned it. And some of them have separated off, like Kratom. They said, we don't want Kratom, we want some of these things. Understandable. You brought up the point in the last meeting about why not open a dispensary. The process, first off, the majority of the people that got the licenses in the first round, because I was involved in it, were the Pritzkers are involved in it, their family's involved in it, so of course they get the licenses. The family that started Jim Beam, the Wrigley's. So there was a lawsuit after the first round when it went recreational. When it went recreational, there was a lawsuit because when you submit for an application for a dispensary, you submit 40, 50 applications. Some of them you answer the same way because you want to see where your points are. It's a point system when you open a dispensary. So when you look at some of these questions that you answer on 10 of your applications the exact same way, and you get different scores, that's a manipulation because then there's no standardization. The reason the lawsuit came about is because, an executive from Chase, former superintendent of here, all these people were awarded them. And, when you look at the federally legal hemp, state legal hemp, it is minimal. When you go to a dispensary, you get THC levels that are so high, and that's what people are looking for. A lot of the people that are coming in, it's not only about them coming in to get the THC, which again, you literally take it, pick it. There's no processing. It's not like a grape or something else that you ferment, process wheat to turn into alcohol. You pick it, it's regulated, and you sell it in its natural state. There's nothing more natural than that. One of the other concerns that was brought up was, too many stores wanting to come in. Well, I saw on the agenda tonight, just like your B liquor license, you wanted to increase that 7 to 8. I think one of the best things that you could do, and we're in full support of this, 21 and over establishments selling this, that pay a special licensing fee, no different than a dispensary or somebody else. Also, create the tax. I know these guys last time were saying that 10% of the tax goes to you guys, which we know is, there's a lot of misinformation, but at 10%, you're not getting that, but you're getting 1.5. But we're in support too of, we want to get back to the communities that we're involved in. create a hemp tax. If you create a hemp tax, put a moratorium on new businesses coming in that sell this product, or create a number of licenses that you pay a fine for, you pay a fee for. So if you're charging $1,000 for a license and you're getting 4%, now that starts to help going towards the state budget and things, your city budget, things like that. And again, it's 21 and over. I don't believe that any of these things, the problems of all this is gas stations have destroyed this. They're just selling anything. They don't really care because it's not their livelihood. This is the livelihood. And to risk, she has a DEA license. She can prescribe medication. And one of the things that, we start finding out is a lot of the people that come in, we're not competing with the dispensary. People that want to go to the dispensary and get blasted, go to the dispensary and get really high. We're looking for people that are coming in more as a day-to-day thing. Illinois has the largest price point, largest tax, coincidentally, of anybody. So to go in the dispensary and get a little marijuana, it's significant in cost compared to what it is with federally legal hemp. And although it was on the agenda on the state to ban it, it didn't pass last year, and now they're talking about it again. It'll be coming up. And the same thing they're doing, they're looking to control it, regulate it, have it in 21 and over establishments. We're involved in everything that's going on. And again, you guys are definitely not in the minority in, in allowing it. You can literally go across the street. An interesting point is when Rolling Meadows banned it, sales jumped over here. And again, it's not people coming in for this. They're coming in for two things. They're coming in for their vape. They're coming in for their tobacco. They're coming in for all this. Now, if they can't get one, why are you going to make 3 stops instead of just one somewhere else? So I think in really what we're asking for is to reevaluate federally legal hemp, state legal hemp, and separate that off from the classification of the other products that you've talked about. And we would be happy to give information or insight. We'd love to be a part of any discussion that you want to have as far as understanding the products better. Again, we're in support of creating a hemp tax, creating a specialty license, and limiting the number of licenses that are given out in the community.
Corey, you didn't state your address or what store you represent. I'm curious.
Oh, Nirvana.
Oh, you're also same company?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thanks. I didn't know if you were.
Yeah, we're all with Nirvana.
Got it.
I have a question. Were you selling the beverages as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and again,
Out of curiosity, do beverages sell better than something else?
you know what? It's a different population a lot of times because there's a lot of people who never in their life have smoked a cigarette, they don't know what to do. If they buy a joint or they buy a vape, they have no idea what to do. A lot more of the people that are coming in that we're finding are, in particular, it's a lot of older, it's women that are coming in because they don't want to smoke something. They want to have something to just relax at the end of the night instead of a couple glasses of wine or a glass of wine. They'll have a beverage, which is a moderated amount of THCA as well as like a gummy. Those are kind of introductory points for a lot of people.
I wanted to say something about that. And like you said, I was 47 before, first time in my life that I tried cannabis. And when I had my medical practice, my medical director, who is a board certified hospice director, as well as the long-term care facilities. So this is what she does at night. She has 3 teenage kids that she runs around with all day. Her husband's a neurologist. She has her drink at night to help her relax and help her, fall asleep instead of turning to prescription medications. My practice was based, I had a homebound medical practice. I was the only one licensed in the state of Illinois to vaccinate patients at home. So I was working with Dr. Corpix with the Cook County. I would get a list every day. I would send out my nurse practitioners, my medical assistants to go vaccinate patients during the pandemic. But outside of that, we saw patients that had difficulty going outside to go see their doctor. So we would manage them at home. These were people that were bed-bound, that were wheelchair-bound with decubitus ulcers, with MS, Parkinson's, all kinds of things. And when I first started seeing patients, before I even took over the practice, when patients would bring up cannabis, I would ask them, do you take drugs? And this was one of those questions, do you use cannabis? And I saw it as a negative thing. It wasn't until I saw patients that had improvements, whether it was epilepsy or Parkinson's, where they had uncontrolled symptoms, and they would use cannabis, and now their symptoms were manageable. Now they can button their shirt, they can bring the spoon to their mouth and feed themselves. So that's when it really turned around. And luckily enough, like, we were allowed to write medical cards for our patients. And again, like, it really turned things around. A lot of our patients were chronically ill, in pain, had a lot of medical conditions, and this helped to get it under control. Otherwise, it was prescribing narcotics, and
I don't want to cut you off, but I hear what you're saying. The problem you have is you're competing with the Shell gas station and the mobile gas station. And we're not in the business to try and get into a whole regulation thing on our own. We have a dispensary in town. We don't do anything with that. That's fully regulated by the state. It's not something we have to do. We're too small a town to try and regulate this. Do I agree that you can find people that can do this right and do it the right way? What I disagree with you on is that we have the capacity to regulate it in a way to make sure that only those people are doing it. So unless we say it's all or nothing, that's how we came to this decision.
But Corey, I guess let me ask those. But Corey, you said that there are certain hemp products that are federally legal and state regulated.
Yeah, under the 2018 Farm Bill, under 0.3% THC. And one of the things I think about is this, is that if that's the logic that we're going to use, then why is liquor only sold at a liquor store? Why is liquor sold at gas stations? Why is liquor sold there? Because the police do these things. They're not sitting there waiting on the state to come in and making sure the liquor license, you're giving out the liquor license in your municipality. So the police are involved in going and making sure minors aren't being sold. So to say that hemp can only be sold in a hemp-based product in dispensary because it's state regulated would be like saying liquor should only be sold at a liquor store and not at a gas station, not at any other restaurant that has exposure to kids, not at any grocery stores. It really is the same thing, and what we're asking for is we're saying you should regulate it, just like you regulate the license. You guys have a different gaming ordinance in other places. I could open up a gaming cafe like Dottie's across the street. I can't do that here without about 32 to 35 seats. So I need to have, you guys do have rules in place, and you do have structure in place. So all you're doing to regulate it is making sure the less places you have, the easier it is. That's pretty simple. And again, if you're regulating, allowing alcohol in all these places, I don't understand what the difference is. And especially too, the fact that marijuana is federally legal. If you own a dispensary, you're taxed as a drug dealer. Literally, you're taxed as a drug dealer because you can't pay federal taxes on the money that you're making because it's federally illegal. So they have a special classification, a special tax bracket that was put together in the 80s because some drug dealer's accountant wanted them to pay taxes to avoid tax evasion. But to me, it's the same thing. You can regulate it. You have the ability to do it. If you choose not to, it's a personal choice. But you guys definitely do have the ability to regulate it by having two places. And it's just something in place like, here, if the state is regulating, and I went through it, I know, I built a dispensary, and I understand the whole process. It's very lengthy.
I think what you were about to ask are the products themselves tested, regulated?
I think, and I was not at the first meeting where this was initially discussed, but I was at the last one, and I was under the impression that part of why we chose to ban this, or these group of substances, is because they weren't regulated. It could be like a bag of potpourri or something that, you see at a gas station and they go home and smoke it, or, there's no regulations there's no labels on the products to show that they're regulated, and like in a marijuana store, right? You buy
the factories,
container, right? It has a container and it tells you what's in it, and it tells you levels, and it's regulated. So for me, it's again, I am all pro business. I am all for tax dollars to our city, but I was under the impression that the reason why we created the ban is because the products just aren't safe enough to be sold in our municipality.
So everyone comes with a certificate of authenticity, goes through an independent lab. Every single bit of flower that goes through there, all the THCA, because what makes it THCA legally is the amount of THC in there, which is 0.3. If it is over that, it is illegal. So every company, they would be shut down, they would lose their business, and they would be in legal trouble federally if it went over 0.3. So every one of them comes with a certificate of authenticity. A lot of them have
Like,
QR codes.
is it on the bag, like on the label, so that?
Yes, some of them have the QR.
So there's a
codes.
federal agency that goes and inspects every one of these, does random tests, just like with milk, you know, before milk is sold to the public, it's tested by the FDA. All that is done with hemp.
Supplements is not done
What is
for
the
it.
agency that oversees the hemp regulations as far as how much can be in there and the testing and all that goes on? What agency does that?
Well, it's no different because the FDA doesn't even regulate a supplement, so the vitamin D and the
Forget
vitamin C.
about supplements.
So in regard, well,
Forget-
it's the same
I'm
thing.
talking about meat, eggs, milk, I mean, that's all regular.
Like, if you could
Drugs.
show me a bag of hemp product
Mm-hmm.
that was legal, or was regulated, that was federally legal and state regulated.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If you could show me that,
Well, here-
compared to like, I'm sure our police sergeant, or excuse me, police chief, or other people on his team could like walk in somewhere and identify, like, this is not what should be sold.
Yes,
right?
because with these certificates, these are labs. They make their livelihood testing independently anything that is sent to them, it is independently tested. So if these guys are coming up and giving you false information, these are independent labs. This is their livelihood.
What agency oversees that? What government-paid employees oversee
Congress.
that?
Congress passed the bill. Congress passed the bill. As far as regulating it, again, it is no different. And I know we want to differentiate it, but there is no difference between the
Corey,
supplements and that.
Corey, if I may provide a little clearance
Yes,
here.
please,
It sure seems that you, sir, and your company are very diligent in doing your background and investigating the products you're selling. And the biggest problem for us is to say that every establishment in the city is doing that. Now, what you're saying is absolutely correct. The Farm Bill was passed to essentially aid the farmers in selling hemp. And to answer the question over here to the city council, there is no FDA-like or government-like agency that certifies or tests this. It's essentially on the business owner, as Corey and his partners are, to do their diligence and vet these labs and the products that they're selling. So, you know, you bring up supplements, but these products have a very different effects on people than supplements do. And so our concern is that Prospect Heights becomes the city where everybody goes to buy their THC and kratom, and, you know, it's a negative image, right?
Well, no, I understand that, you know, we're not even talking about freedom, I mean, we're not asking again for this, but again, the majority of municipalities around you do allow it, and the same thing too is that, you know, when people are looking at this, you know, okay, so the FDA regulates medication, how many people have side effects from medication, how many people have OD'd from medication, so to me, having a federal regulation does not differentiate because there's a conflict of interest when you have special interest groups going up there, allowing these narcotics, like, and opiates, that people know are not, they're dangerous for the community. I mean, Oxycontin, fentanyl, and all this. And so one of the things that people really, I think, fail to understand is, so if somebody's not going to go to a dispensary and they're not looking for something in that high dose really to knock them out, again, which is federally legal, you know, the DEA regulates drugs. And the DEA, if you want to talk about regulation, the DEA regulates drugs, and they've said marijuana is illegal, and it is not good. It has limited medical use, but it's allowed here.
Right, and you gotta remember, we all have bosses, right?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Illinois is our boss, right?
Right, and they
We
say
might like to
that
think
is
we can do
legal.
our own thing, but they really limit what we can and can't do. So.
Right, yes, sir.
So how does Illinois regulate marijuana?
Illinois is independent, you know, each state has their own laws in doing it. So they have, the federal government says no, the state of Illinois allows it, and they allow it in, you know, it started off as only medical, once they started seeing the revenue.
How does the state dictate or determine whether a product is able to be sold in a dispensary?
In the state of Illinois, you can't cross state lines. So the cultivators in the state of Illinois, they're not going and inspecting these places too. They're having trust in the cultivators, which the majority of the cultivators is a conflict of interest because the majority of the cultivators are the ones that own the dispensaries. So the dispensaries own that. That's how they're hijacking the pricing, is because each one is allowed to have 10 licenses. So each cultivator.
So besides the money making aside, that doesn't really interest me. I'm more interested in the product itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I am under the impression that if I purchase marijuana from a dispensary, that I'm getting a product that is that the label is what it says it is, and it's a certain amount of THC or whatever the cannabis drug in there. I don't know the right acronym. I'm not an avid marijuana user, right? But I feel like I go to a dispensary, I get a product, it has a label on it, and what's in that container is what the label says.
Right, they get independently tested. Because they get independently tested. All the cannabis is independently tested because they can't rely on people to police themselves. So those same companies that are going through and doing this processing and the testing are doing the same thing. And
So, but to go one step further,
Yes, sir.
I agree with you, it's independent testing. Does the state oversee that?
No.
So the state says, you brought up alcohol, and I'm going to go way out, because I always take things way out to the extreme to try and prove a point. I'm Walgreens, next door to us here, across the street. I can't go to Kentucky to some moonshiner and buy alcohol from them to sell at my Walgreens, right? We have to make sure, they make sure it's got the right stamps because it's been tested, whatever facilities it's made at is inspected and everything else. I'm assuming, like Danielle is saying, that with the marijuana, although it might be an independent lab doing the testing, it's still overseen by a government agency. You're saying there is no government oversight to the marijuana that's sold at dispensaries, none whatsoever, as far as purity, content.
Well, you're saying it's faulty. You're saying it's faulty.
Well, the oversight is the applying for the license and maintaining the license. There is no license required to sell these THC products.
Yes, sir. Just like a liquor license, if I sell to a minor one time, it's a fine.
Right, but
Second
you're
time,
buying, forget about, you're talking about how it actually gets transacted. But for you to sell liquor, you can't in Illinois just run to Kentucky and buy moonshine and bring it up here to sell. You have to buy from people because the state says who can sell the liquor and how the liquor is tested, how they're sure it's what it is, what the alcohol content is and everything else. Tell me how that's done in your line of work.
Sure, I'll just say one thing first though, is like this, is that, so what people fail to understand also is in California, because Illinois, their pricing has gone so high for a pound of marijuana. No, I'm just.
Forget about I'm like Danielle, I want to know how it's regulated. I want to know how you know it's safe, other than just saying, well, these people get it
No,
tested.
I'm getting to that.
It's different than alcohol.
No, that's exactly what I'm getting to. So this is why I'm explaining this. So these companies that are cultivating cannabis, because California and Oregon has done it for so long, that it's now saturated. So their pound might be $600 and they have, and they're not, they've lost their profit margins. In Illinois, you're paying $4,000 for a pound in the dispensary. So what a lot of these companies have done now is the companies that we're working with, these companies that you can go and look that are sending the certificates of authenticity, are going through there. They are cannabis companies who also in turn are producing hemp.
But again,
So, yes,
get to the
those-
regulation part. How do we know that when we buy something from you, that somebody other than your lab that you think is good at testing these things says it's okay, that it is as pure as what it is, there's no impurities and everything else? Who does that? Is that done in your line of work? Similar to like we're talking about with alcohol and other things that are sold. Who regulates, who inspects it? Who makes sure that, like USDA goes in and checks in factories when they're, making chicken and everything else. I mean, they're inspecting, making sure it's all done right. The government's doing that, and then they get a stamp saying, yep, it's good. Does that happen in your line of work?
Well, I mean, and I've been involved in that area too, because even when they had peanut butter and other things like this, that get salmonella, that gets through and such. But in this, for us, we have to look at everything that we buy, everything from the lab that comes through there. We're looking at that independently. And again, there's not a federal agency overseeing it.
It's also coming through multiple channels, right? So there is no federal agency overlooking.
And what was your name for the record?
My name is Patrick Conley.
Thank you, Patrick.
And I work with Corey and Roshi, and I do a lot of the ordering and deal with a lot of the day-to-day business of the shops. So no, there is no state or federal agency for the dispensaries or for federally legal hemp, right? It's all independently tested. So a company would have their product, they would send it to be tested, and then they would then send that test result with the product and have it posted on their website with the product. So first it's going to come through some sort of distributor, and that distributor is going to look over, because if those tests are not right, that distributor could in essence be committing a crime. Because if the THC level is too high, now it's federally illegal marijuana, and they've got X amount of it in their warehouse, and that could be legal trouble for them. At the same time, if there were pesticides or heavy metals or other things that can happen through agriculture, the end user would see this, the distributors would see this, our shop would see this, someone would catch it along the way, and nobody's going to keep that stuff in their store. They're going to say, no, we don't want
Don't
this.
believe that.
Okay.
That's our problem with this.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. You know, it's
Right, so
much
the
different
standard-
than.
Yeah, so the standards you hold yourself to and the products that you want to sell to your clients, like how do we get that same level of, service,
I've
like
never
at a gas station or at a liquor store or at some other
I
venue?
completely understand you're saying that, you know, there could be products out there that are harmful and that a liquor store, you know, may not even look at it and just say, sure, I'll take it and sell it. But the fact is, by the time it gets to retail, for the opportunity for me to buy it, it's gone through a couple of channels. I've never seen what they're gonna call like a COA, you know, certificate of analysis that's been, you know, either illegal or had pesticides or heavy metals or anything dangerous. It's not gonna make it to market. It's not gonna get to our store with a non-certified COA that looks clean and looks
But
good.
to what you're saying though, is you regulate where it can be sold. You regulate where alcohol can be sold. You regulate where a dispensary is. You can't put a dispensary next to a grammar school. That's not allowed. It's just simply not allowed. No municipality, every municipality regulates where you can put where you can put a dispensary. When it
So-
first started, you couldn't even be in a building unless you own the building.
So perfect. So this is what I would say. So I think, and I don't, I think Wendy, who's not here this evening, had some additional thoughts on this situation. I'm certainly intrigued because again, I don't want to do something to negatively affect our businesses. We appreciate you being in town. We're glad you chose Prospect Heights, and we're not trying to do something to harm your business. That was not the intent of this. So I'm more than willing to sit down. We can only meet 2 people at a time. Like, I would be glad to meet with, and maybe our police chief would have someone from his department that would be willing to sit with us. Because again, if I can be persuaded that there's a way to very easily determine if the products being sold in a 21 and over store are safe, then like I'm more than willing to revisit the topic. I'm just one council member, right? So if there's not support from other council members, but again, I think Wendy is someone who wanted some more information. So I'm more than willing to invest some time outside of what we're doing here tonight to understand it better. And so I'd be willing to do that.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And for us too, it's like, you know, with any business, when you issue a liquor license, you're assuming, nobody's regulating them other than maybe the police. You're assuming that they're not selling to minors. And when you really look at it, the number of domestic calls due to alcohol, traffic accidents, fights, public intoxication, all this, how many domestic calls you get for somebody that has.
Yeah, I don't, right, and I'm saying, I don't want to take like,
Right.
for a living, everyone takes it to like the nth degree, like this could happen, but like, I'm not really interested in that. Like, I'm more interested in understanding what you're selling, understanding that the product you're selling can be understood very easily so that it can be enforced, and that we're not having to expend resources to walk into the stores that are selling these hemp products and trying to understand, oh, did they buy this at the swap market last week in an ULSIP? Did they get this from a credible distributor? Did Corey make this in his basement? Like, we can't have that. That's what Pat is saying is, or excuse me, Mayor Ludvitz is saying, is we don't have the resources to be doing that. So like, we would have to have a very crisp plan to understand who's selling it and what exactly they're selling.
Yes, ma'am.
And if there's any gray in that where our police department is not capable of executing, or again, I don't know if staff is involved in, again, we don't regulate the marijuana, right? It's like, it has to be a very well thought out plan that can be executed. And again, we're a small municipality and we are not home rule. We don't have money to throw after this extra tax revenue. I mean, yeah, again.
Right, but the
So
thing,
I'm willing to
the
spend
thing is,
time
like,
outside
at
of
the last meeting we talked, and I kind of started talking about the financial side to it, and you said, well, this isn't about financial, it's about is it safe? And I agree.
Well, no, I say
But when
it's two different topics.
Right, but when you
Like,
talk
we
about
have
what
people-
you bring up this $54,000 at 10 and a quarter, which to us is 5,000. I'm a numbers person. I look at it and say, there's not much we can do as a city for $5,000 to regulate something. We can't let something happen because even though it's your business, we can't have something that's got a net zero or negative effect to us, because in order for us to regulate it, it's going to cost more than $5,000.
Oh, yes, sir.
So it doesn't make sense to us. So at some point, whether you do it the best in the world and you make sure it's pure and everything's great, you don't do enough of it, and not saying that it's got to be a lot for us to do it, but you don't do enough of it that we could actually properly regulate it and control it and still have it be beneficial to us. It might be beneficial to you, but not to us.
Yes, sir. And the thing about it too is this is just like the impact that it had, a positive impact on the municipality and our numbers was when Rolling Meadows banned it. And again, when you look at the communities around here, the majority have not banned it. Some of them have banned Kratom. And yes, sir, and I understand. But
I think we might be on the leading edge of that. I think to look at that and say we're like unusual that we banned it, I think that's more coming than not.
you know why? Because it's these people that have given it a bad name. And secondly, is because there's people that are voting on it that haven't asked a single question. So if somebody's voting on something without...
It's because right now, there's no way to stop the Shell station and the mobile station and the liquor stores from doing it.
So how about this? So why don't you, and again, I'm just one person on the council, right? So why don't you put together some information that's like a 60-minute, like I can allocate like an hour to meet with you guys and rough out, again, my major concern is understanding the quality of the products that you are wanting to sell and how the city could regulate that in a very black and white way. And again, like, let's sit down and talk about it. I will ask the police chief if he can, or maybe I just sit down by myself and then depending on resources, I could meet with someone from the police department. But again, I'm more than willing to. You're saying that 54% of your sales are these hemp-based products, right? So again, that's clearly a hardship if that's truthful testimony you've given here tonight, and I'm more than happy to meet with you guys to talk about it. But I think we've probably exhausted our resources here this evening, so why don't we?
If we let opportunity meet with each person, and we don't even need an hour. I don't want to take up anybody that much time. We could do a hard 15 minutes, and all I want to understand is each person's concern. And if their concern is like this, if your concern is just, I don't know, and it's a lack of knowledge and understanding, then it's voting blindly on something. And if that's what you choose to do, it's your problem.
No, I mean, I don't think any of us voted blindly. We were told that we were told that the products are not regulated. There's no way for our police department to know what these stores are selling, whether they're vetted or not vetted. And for that reason, we agreed that the products weren't safe and they couldn't be sold in our community in a controlled environment.
And one step further, even the ones that said they can, like your perfect example, you have all the credibility in the world to do it, we can't afford to do the regulation to make it worthwhile for us to do. We can't have you come in here and generate all these sales, and we get sales tax, but for us to regulate it and do it properly to make sure you're still doing what you're supposed to do, and now we're spending $50,000 to do that, taking in $5,000.
But Pat, again, but going to like the concept of issuing licenses, right? Like we chose only to issue two marijuana or one marijuana license. Right. So I mean, like we could do something.
Yeah, but now you're telling him your cost just went up.
That's okay.
Big time, because in order to make it financially feasible for us to do it, they're going to have to pay a lot of money to do
What's
that.
a liquor license cost? Or what is a?
$5,000?
If 54% of their business is this, I bet you they're going to gladly show up and give us a $5,000
Because
check.
our alternative is to be closed.
Yeah.
Because not only are we losing that money, 54% of the money from the flower, but now people are no longer buying vape. So then all of a sudden that streamlines to Rolling Meadows went down 60%, literally. And you know where that money transferred to?
I have a store in Rolling Meadows, and I have tax filings to show at least 50% drop from February to March, and it's the same. And
So again, I think we've exhausted our resources this evening. So
we appreciate your time.
my email is on the city's website. Again, why don't you package something up? So my concerns again are the quality of the products that would be sold and how the city could regulate that. And I'm more than willing to listen, to talk through that with you. And if I feel like there's a viable path forward that is an easy button for the city, I would be willing to talk to the other council members and/or ask them to meet with you to gain the same level of understanding that I gained from meeting with you.
If I could just leave you with this, that the hemp products, it's a very broad range of different products. And I totally understand the concern of not wanting to have something unregulated or potentially dangerous being sold in the community. But because it's such a broad range, it would be possible to limit it down to a narrower scope, that there are products that are more easily verifiable.
Yeah, so
within
again,
there.
I think tonight we've sort of exhausted this, so come up with your plan, and my email's on the city website. I'll be glad to allocate an hour to meet with you guys to talk through it, and I would think that if, at the end of our, my conclusion is that there might be a path forward, I'd be glad to share that with the other council members and staff. And again, I'm one person, I'm one vote. I don't know how they would vote, even if I was in support of a plan that we could come up with, collaborate on. But I'm willing to move it forward if that's, if you're interested.
If I could add, and we wrestled with this, we understand that, but there's also a safety concern. I understand your comparisons. Not all towns have banned it. However, Wheeling, Buffalo Grove have. Our ordinance, and the attorney is greatly borrowed from Buffalo Grove. So we're not the only one. If I could also ask that he made a very good presentation, Mr. Silverstein from Garfield's was here. Perhaps Councilmember Dash, myself, Chief of Police, and the two organizations, we can review this.
Yes, sir, thank you. And Mayor, thank you for your time. And we're not here to take, we want to find a way to make it mutually beneficial, because then we could open up someplace else. But, we're fighting to stay here. We have other places and we could be other places. But we still are, the people that we're getting in here, it's like our clientele, we're not worried about it. Everything is good. We have a good, clean clientele. But thank you all for your time. I know it was more than that.
No, it's all right.
And we also understand, I think there's 3 legislative proposals that the state legislature is looking at this on a broader issue too, so.
Yes, they are.
I'm Danielle Dash.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well,
Thank you for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you.
Anybody else? That's it? Okay. We did have an executive session. We did take action on that executive session. So with that, item 15, adjournment. We need a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Anderson?
Second, Cameron.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned.